Mercedes Mone is thinking exactly how she should be, and something that fans really need to keep an eye on. In this video, we are going to be discussing something that she said in a recent interview that I think really flew under the radar and should have more priority and focus from the fan base, because it could impact the industry going forward. And we know that Mercedes Mone is a big-time star from her days in WWE as Sasha Banks to her New Japan stint that was severely underrated, as well as her tenure in AEW, reportedly making her the highest paid female in all of wrestling when she signed with them, reportedly in late 2023, but let's call it 2024, when she made her grand return to the pro wrestling industry in the United States on a major platform and making her All Elite Wrestling debut on the Big Business episode of Dynamite. Now, since then, she's gone through it. She has gone through the mud. She has gone through the criticisms, from criticisms of she's a babyface, now she's a heel, to criticisms of her promos suck, to they're all right, to why is she not wrestling, to oh my God, she's having banger after banger after banger. She is legitimately the female version of Sheamus, just having great matches. But there's more to Mercedes Mone than just the wrestler. There's more to Mercedes Mone than what you see on AEW television week in and week out. She's a businesswoman, having a wide portfolio of companies and interests. She's a model, and she's a wrestler. And she wants to take her skill set to the next level. She wants to be able to reach out to a broader audience in the way of a different form of pro wrestling, because Mercedes Mone may end up becoming an actual CEO in time. Now, during her time at WWE, Mercedes Mone was known as the boss, but after leaving the WWE, she became the CEO. Yes, it's a very catchy thing. It's a very annoying theme song. As it turns out, Mercedes Mone is taking her nickname very seriously, as she has aspirations to help own a pro wrestling company one day. She was speaking with Katie Sackhoff for a new interview and said this: I always said back in the day that I wanted to be a shareholder and be part of helping and creating. So yeah, I definitely want to help own a wrestling company one day and be the woman of change and voice of change over there for any wrestling company that wants to have me. Huh, interesting. Mercedes Mone be part of a wrestling promotion? Sure, I like it. Let's do it. Sign me up. I'm interested in seeing what Mercedes Mone has creatively. I think she has the business mind financially. It's all about trying to get market share, which is a difficult thing, right? Like, I would say that WWE has what, 85% market share of the pro wrestling industry right now. AEW is clearly the number 2 promotion in the world, and they are a very far distant number 2 from WWE. Don't let Dave Meltzer's and the worlds get you twisted. They were never close to beating WWE in 2019 and 2020. You can talk about your ratings all that you want, but that's just one piece of the puzzle. I'm talking about having some of the biggest names in pro wrestling. WWE had the advantage. Talking about ratings, they still had the advantage. Attendance, and more importantly, financials. They were out beating AEW 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 times what AEW was doing. Then you have your New Japans, not really a factor. Your TNAs, heck, they have a working relationship with WWE, and MLW is barely a dot on the radar. The NWA, same thing. There's not a lot of promotions out there that can really take the fight to AEW, let alone a WWE. And so if we're talking about market share and we're trying to adapt into it, I think Mercedes Mone, partnering or buying her way into an NWA or a TNA or an MLW is possible. I don't think it's necessarily going to be anything that is big time. Could she go into business with AEW and have some type of an equity stake in that? I guess. I don't see a reason why Tony Khan would do that. So I think her aspirations are worthy. I think it'd be really cool to own a wrestling promotion. I think most people would agree. But I also think that that is a huge challenge, and it's a huge burden on Mercedes Mone. She has a lot of stakes in the fire right now. She's doing a lot of good things, a lot of big things. I don't know if a wrestling promotion is necessarily that. Look, and I've said this before, the reason that AEW was able to achieve the heights and the success right out of the gate that they did is because it was very simple. Pro wrestling fans, WWE fans, they were looking for an alternative because in 2019, the main roster creative had sucked for so long. And so here comes an AEW who had some established guys. But for the most part, most people didn't know who X, Y, and Z were. But they knew that they were an alternative. And AEW had a very simple booking philosophy. We're going to have simple yet fun storylines that make sense, and we're going to have some great wrestling. And then some point, aka May of 2022, Triple H takes over main roster creative. And he starts making simple yet fun storylines with some good wrestling. Not great, but good wrestling. And so WWE fans that were disconnected with the WWE product under Vince McMahon were pro wrestling fans that had only watched AEW because they were offering a product that actually made sense. They go, oh, WWE's back in form. And they had bigger stars. And they had bigger distributions and platforms. So we're just going to go back to WWE. Thank you, AEW. You were a great date, but we're going to go back to the wife. Right? We're going to go back to a marriage. And that's why AEW has seen its audience erode, and I think, in a lot of ways. WWE's product actually got good to great, sometimes decent to good. In AEW, I don't know what their philosophy is exactly. I understand that they are the promotion where the best wrestle. That's great. I'm very happy for you. I appreciate that. That's a great hook. That's a great alternative to what WWE is doing, which is predominantly just storyline based. But when you do your storylines, they have to make sense. Case in point, the Death Rider storyline with Jon Moxley is absolutely horrendous. Does Mercedes Mone want to get into the weeds when it comes to booking and creative and financials and everything like that? That's a big question. And that's something in which, before she signs on the dotted line or makes a bank transfer, I think you're going to have to ask yourself. Mercedes Mone is one of the greatest women's wrestlers to ever do it. Maybe we just stick with being that. If you're great at something, why would you want to be decent at another thing? That's just my opinion. We'll see what she ends up doing, but for now, she is in AEW. She is in AEW as one of the faces of the women's division. She is one of the pillars of that company right now, and she will be for the remaining several years of her contract, which I have no doubt probably has another 4 years on it. Let me know in the comments here below, what do you think of Mercedes Mone's comments and her ambitions?